Hi. In ancient times, before the Egyptians and Romans built their cities, civilizations already existed on Earth. They had their own villages and castles, gods and religions, magic and warriors. The mighty barbarians lived in the north, parsing down the secrets of steel smelting from generation to generation and praying to Crom, the god of the earth. In one of these villages, Conan the Barbarian was born into a blacksmith's family. After surviving a brutal attack on the pilots, he was enslaved as a child. For many years he did not know what freedom was, but it was Conan who was destined to accomplish many feats and become a great king. Here's movie recaps. Give it a like and subscribe and we'll keep it going. Once upon a time, a blacksmith lived in a northern village with his wife and son, Conan. Forging his finest sword, he shows it to a boy on the mountainside and tells him about Crom, the great god of their people, from whom the people receive the secret of steel. To master the secret, Conan must respect the ancient art of the blacksmiths. Soon their home village is raided by horsemen led by the evil wizard Tulsa and Doom. Their wife and son take refuge nearby and are horrified to see the death of their protector. They too cannot escape, and the sorcerer with the blacksmith's sword slowly approaches the woman. Little Conan continues to hold his mother's hand and cannot believe what he sees. The children are left alive, chained and led to the north, where they are used to perform hard slave labor. In heat and cold all day long, they spin a huge wheel. After 20 years, only Conan remains standing, continuing to do the work alone. On the spot, Conan is thrown into a pit where deadly gladiatorial fights are held. The uncomprehending newcomer is attacked by an opponent with sharp teeth like a beast. Bleeding, the barbarian fights back and emerges victorious in his first fight. When no one can compete with the invincible Conan, the fighter is sent to the east to make an elite warrior out of him. Great masters share their secrets with the barbarian, teaching him to read and write, introducing him to poetry and philosophy. Although Conan continues to be a slave, he is brought the most beautiful concubines, with whom he becomes a full-fledged man. Although Conan has only distant memories of his father, he does not abandon the blacksmith's precepts and continues to believe in Crom and sacred steel. He deserves the great respect of his teachers. One night the master decides to give Conan freedom. The former slave flees to the steppes, but there he is overtaken by a pack of wolves. Fleeing from them on a rock, Conan falls into an ancient tomb hidden inside. There he builds a fire and sees skeletons of ancient people everywhere. One of them is sitting on a throne in royal attire. In his right hand is a sword, which Conan carefully picks up and beats the rust of it. Suddenly the skeleton's crown falls, forcing the ancient king's head to bow. The barbarian sees this as a sign of divine approval. Crom himself led him here and gave him the blade. Having received his first weapon, Conan gets rid of the last shackles that still remain on his body, and then he kills the wolves. On his way, the wandering warrior comes across a lonely hut with a woman waiting for him on its doorstep. Conan goes inside where he hears a prophecy from the mistress. From the north will come a great warrior who will destroy the serpents and become king. As a boy, Conan remembered the emblems of those who killed his parents, two serpents under a black sun merging into one. The seer promises to tell more if the man spends the night with her. Conan agrees, but in the process, the witch turns into a demon with sharp teeth, which the man pushes straight into the fire. The spirit leaves her body and flies off into the forest with a sinister laughter. Conan sets off on his journey when he notices a man chained to a rock nearby begging for food. The thief is punished by being left to die alone. Conan frees the prisoner. They spend the evening around a campfire where they argue about whose god is stronger. Subotai becomes Conan's companion and loyal friend. Together they travel over mountains and fields, and Conan finds himself inside a real city for the first time. After refreshments at the local market, Conan continues on his way, and in another settlement, he gives his sword to a blacksmith to sharpen. None of the people have seen the snake emblem the witch spoke of, but one of the locals tells of a tower of sectarians who worship the creeping reptiles. The snake religion is spreading throughout the towns, and its minions are killing people at night. Conan and Subotai go to the tower. And on the way, the barbarian sees a camel being knocked out with a single blow for fun. This attracts too much attention, and Subotai remarks that they should be more careful. The thief hopes to steal something valuable from the tower, but on the way to the tower, the friends meet a girl named Valeria. She is holding a sword and a rope, and she was also planning to sneak in. They decide to join forces, and the group climbs the wall to the roof of the tower. The well at the top stinks, but it's the only way in. Valeria knocks out one of the women and puts on her robes. While she watches the ritual begin, Conan and Subotai descend to the lower floor where they find a huge snake. They steal treasures, including a huge gem, the eye of the snake. Conan confronts the reptile and pierces its jaw, but the snake entangles his body and tries to strangle him. The gunner helps his friend by nailing the enemy's head to the wall with his arrows, and the friends emerge victorious. While they are fighting, one of the young sectarians takes off her vestments and goes to the edge of the precipice to give herself to the snake. She jumps down and screams when she discovers the corpse of the sacred animal. Panic ensues, in which Valeria helps her friends escape, preventing the guards from piercing them with arrows. The trio leap from the roof into the water, then celebrate their victory in the tavern. Conan gives the eye of a snake to Valeria, thus showing her his affection. It proves to be mutual, and the lovers spend the night together. Conan makes a pendant out of the stone for his friend to wear around her neck. The companions enjoy life and riches without measure. They let their guard down and are soon caught unawares by the king's guards. The trio are brought before the ruler Osric, but it turns out that he has no intention of punishing the thieves. The old king hates the sectarians, and his own daughter has fallen under the influence of Tulsa Doom and has run away to seek spiritual enlightenment from him. The worried father showered the thieves with jewels and asked them to bring the princess home in return. Valeria and Subotai are too happy with the king's advance and want to simply run away so as not to mess with the army of insane followers. The girl loves Conan and doesn't want to lose him, but the barbarian can't leave the murderer of her parents unpunished. While Valeria sleeps, Conan leaves his cozy corner and sets off on his own. He rides for many days following the pilgrims who wish to reach the Palace of Doom. On the road, the barbarian rides past the remains of ancient civilizations and ruined cities until he stumbles upon a shaman's hut. The man tries to frighten the armed warrior, but both quickly realize that they are not enemies of each other. They have a long talk by the fire about ancient gods and titans, and in the morning Conan leaves his new acquaintance his sword and horse so that he will not stand out among the pilgrims. On his camel he rides into the tent camps of the sectarians, where he takes the clothes of one of the priests and takes his place in the procession that heads for the palace of Tulsa Doom. On its steps appears the daughter of King Osri, followed by the Doom himself, who begins his sermon. But then Conan is recognized as an infidel and taken prisoner. He is brutally tortured, and then Tulsa Doom himself demands that the precious eye of the snake be returned to him. Conan screams that the villain has killed his people, father and mother, and treacherously stolen the sword that father forged. Doom calmly explains that years ago he sought the secret of steel, but now he knows a much more valuable secret, the secret of flesh. To prove it, he orders the girl on the rock to jump down. She does so without hesitation, and the sorcerer declares that steel is nothing compared to the hand that controls the sword, and its power is limitless. After Conan is crucified on a tree of suffering in the middle of the desert, without food or water, attacked by vultures, the warrior realizes his end is near. But at sunrise on the horizon, Subotai appears on the horizon and frees his friend. Valeria also appears, and together they take the wounded Conan to the shaman's hut. They ask him to heal the barbarian, but the shaman says that the price of such a ritual may be too high. Valeria says she will pay any price, and the shaman sets to work to stop the spirits from taking Conan to the netherworld. The friends fiercely defend the barbarian's body against the death messengers, and Conan is brought back to life. Valeria promises that no gods will separate the beloved, and she will help him even from the realm of the dead. Now Conan will no longer go on a dangerous journey alone. Subotai offers to steal the girl and take revenge on the sorcerer another time. The shaman wishes his friends good luck, and they reach the entrance to the cave on the backside of the mountain where Tulsa Doom is hiding. After applying battle coloring, the trio makes their way inside, where the sectarians perform a ritual of flesh and pleasure. The princess sits at the feet of the sorcerer, who watches the subjects from his throne. Suddenly, Doom's body begins to change, and he turns into a giant snake. Meanwhile, Valeria and Subotai start a fire and kill the guards. While the snake crawls away, Valeria grabs the princess and takes her with him. Conan fights off the arriving guards, toppling the boiling potion and breaking the giant columns. The friends get away from the guards in the caves and get on their horses, taking the princess away. Doom regains his form and promises to repay the infidels who defied him. He goes outside and loads his bow with a magic arrow made from a small snake. It pierces Valeria, and the girl feels she cannot live. She asks Conan one last time to hold and kiss her. Valeria dies in her lover's arms, further fueling his thirst for revenge. In an ancient city not far from the shaman's hut, Conan consigns the warrior's body to the fire. Subotai drops a stingy tear saying goodbye to her friend. The barbarian puts around her neck the talisman he gave Valeria on the day they met. Conan ties the princess to a rock on a hill to lure the Doom army into a trap. The girl still believes that the sorcerer will save her from the infidels. Before the battle, Conan remembers how he used to go to the forest with his father as a boy and how pleasant the spring wind and the smell of fresh grass was. Since then, there has been no more spring in his life, but only a brutal slaughter of 20 years. Subotai helps prepare traps and fortifications, and the shaman brings armor and swords collected from dead warriors. When the army of Doom appears on the horizon, Conan prays to Crom. He says that no one will remember what kind of men the two friends were, good or bad, or what they fought for. The only thing they will remember is that the two went up against an entire army. The warriors bravely fight off the horsemen, who can reach the men hiding among the stone sculptures. Subotai is saved from death by a shaman who first wields a spear to knock a horseman out of the saddle. Conan takes on the officers of Doom, one of whom is pierced to death by a snare, but the other pounces on the barbarian and drops him to the ground. As the enemy draws his sword for the final blow, a mysterious figure reflects his blade and blinds him with a flash of light. Disbelieving his eyes, Conan recognizes the spirit of Valeria, who has fulfilled her promise and come from the other world to help her lover. Conan takes advantage and defeats the last sectarian fighter. Only Tulsa Doom himself, who has been watching the battle from the sidelines, survives. The sorcerer loads his bow again, this time aiming directly at the princess, who begs the wizard to take her with him. But Subotai realizes the villain's plan, and despite his injury rushes to the girl, and in a leap reflects Doom's shot with his shield. Having failed, the sorcerer shamefully flees the battlefield. Conan finds on the ground the broken sword that the Doom officer tried to kill him with. In its hilt, he recognizes the blade his father forged many years ago. The barbarian throws up his hands in tribute to Crom for his blessing in battle. At night, Tulsa Doom walks out to the crowd of pilgrims who have gathered at the foot of the mountain with torches. At this time, the princess, who has finally become disillusioned with her idol, leads Conan past the palace guards and straight to Doom. The sorcerer discovers the barbarian, who has come up behind him and is trying to use his sweet speeches. Doom tries to hypnotize the barbarian by repeating over and over that he is his son. Conan, who has longed to see his father before him, succumbs to the illusion for a moment, but his gaze on the hilt of his sword completely breaks the spell. The barbarian takes revenge on the sorcerer by stripping him of his head and showing it to Doom's befiddled crowd. Conan takes his place and watches perfectly as the sectarians extinguish their torches by throwing them into the water. When they are all gone, only the princess awaits the hero. Conan sets fire to the Serpent Palace and takes the girl with him to return to her father. Then he sets out on his quest to become a great king. But that's another story. Write in the comments, and what other stories about the exploits of Conan the Barbarian you have heard. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and put a like, so that cool stories come out as often as possible.